Now, the UK government is to unveil its annual budget today, and it will be the country's final budget before Brexit. But Chancellor Philip Hammond has said that the UK will have to make a new plan if the UK crashes out of the EU without a deal. Well, for more on this, let's go now to Westminster and Vincent McAviney. Good morning, Vincent. What can we expect from the UK's budget today?
Good morning, Belle. Well, Philip Hammond is known as Spreadsheet Phil. He's a chancellor who likes to have a firm grasp on the finances, and he's been slightly buoyed by higher tax receipts than expected. So most of the budget is still under wraps until he delivers it this afternoon. But we have had some of the other items revealed, the sort of non-market sensitive ones. So he's putting £30 billion into fixing the UK's roads, 900 million in business relief rates, and £650 million into trying to rejuvenate the high street. He's also looking at bringing in a digital sales tax to try to tax the likes of Amazon properly so that they are generating more money for the Treasury, and also to help out firms on the high street with a number of department stores close to closing down here. He's also putting money into planting more trees and rural broadband. But one of the really interesting ones is he's putting £2 billion extra into healthcare, but specifically for mental health. There will now be mental health units in all accident and emergency departments around the UK in hospitals, but also, he says, in every school in the country there is now a crisis to do with mental health conditions in young people, so every school will be getting some kind of specialist mental health unit. Now, those are all the kind of little giveaways that the Chancellor can do. He is likely, though, to be very minded of what's coming down the road and won't be splashing too much of that extra cash he seems to have accumulated, we think, later on today.
And this autumn budget is the last before the Brexit deal is meant to be struck. But is it going to have to be a bit of a movable feast, depending on the kind of deal that the UK ends up getting?
That's right. Normally a chancellor might have a white rabbit, something big that they'll pull out of their hat, especially if they've got more money than expected. But I think Philip Hammond will be playing it quite conservatively, because he knows that this might be something he has to just tear up in a couple of months. Here's what he had to say yesterday on the BBC about that.
To build my budget on the OBR's forecast. That's the way the system is mandated to work by Parliament. And the OBR have set out the assumptions that they make. They assume that we will get a negotiated exit, a free trade, an average type free trade deal. And that's what the budget is based on. If we get a better deal than that, there'll be an upside. If we leave with no deal, we'll be in a different set of circumstances, and it would require a different approach, a different response.
The OBR is the Office for Budget Responsibility, which looks at the Chancellor's budget and basically checks the sums. But Philip Hammond is someone who has always had a keen eye on the detail, and he is still one of the strongest remainers in the Cabinet. He knows there could be dire financial consequences if there is the event of no deal. It's something that the Bank of Governor Mark Carney has warned about. And Philip Hammond is someone who is actually constantly reminding his colleagues in Cabinet that he is the one that controls their budget. And if there isn't a deal, if they don't all work together for the sake of the country, then he will be the one making the cuts to their budgets next year. But we'll see this afternoon just how confident he is feeling now about Brexit.